Hello again, sweet darlings. I'm here. We've got a birthday table set up here for my stepdaughter's birthday, ready for when they come home from school in just a few moments' time. So although I'm here to talk to you about a lovely dish to celebrate St. John Damascene on the 27th of March, I am really thinking about them, so I probably will tell you a little bit about them after we've dived into this recipe. But first, St. John Damascene was born around 675 in Damascus, Syria, and he came from an influential Christian family, but he lived under Muslim rule. But what he's best known for was during the 8th century when the Byzantine Emperor Leo III launched the iconoclast movement, which banned religious images or icons and ordered their destruction, claiming that they were idolatrous. And St. John Damascene strongly opposed this policy. He wrote several major treatises all about this, and this is just a quote from one of those that was included in our March recipe booklet for Feasting with the Saints. So in the Apologies Against Those Who Attack the Holy Images, he argued that icons are not idols, but visual aids to deepen faith. The incarnation of Christ, God becoming man, justifies the use of images because God made himself visible. Destroying icons undermines Christian tradition and dishonors the saints. So his writings were later very influential, about 30 years after his death in 749, during the Second Council of Nicaea in 787 AD, which restored the veneration of icons in the church. And again, this is an excerpt from his writings. We do not worship matter, we do not worship the creation rather than the Creator, but we worship the Creator who became matter for our sake, who willed to dwell in matter, who worked out our salvation through matter. Never will I cease honoring that matter which wrought my salvation. I honor it, but not as God. Through matter, my salvation came to me. So I really like that, the idea that because God made himself visible through Jesus Christ, images of Jesus, images of Mary, and the saints, those are all aids to deepen our faith, which certainly has been my experience as I've been putting up more religious art in my home. When I first entered the Catholic Church and my husband reverted in his faith, we had so few images. Really, it was just this one that I have behind me of Mary, which I've had with me in my life since I was about 12. We didn't have others, so we thought, okay, well, how many is a good number to have up? Where can we find good ones? And really, it's a very slow process to find ones that we like, but I'm really enjoying filling so many different rooms and corners of our house with sacred images. So in our boot room, for example, we have an image of the Holy Family, which my husband bought me in Rome, so that's there when you come into the house. In the bathroom, I have a little ceramic tile of the story from the Bible where Jesus reappears to his disciples after his resurrection, and he says to them on the beach, come and have breakfast. I just love that. That's probably one of my favorite stories from the Bible. And in the kitchen, we've got a little Sacred Heart. I've got various kind of mini icons of Mary up because I've been collecting them with my sister's help. So yeah, there's a few dotted around the place, which you've probably seen in some videos. But I think that, St. John was totally on point there. To celebrate his feast day, I chose kind of a Byzantine Greek dish, Spanakopita, which is really one of my favorite Greek dishes. I have such fond memories of this dish. Actually, in my when I went to a girls-only school, Catholic girls-only school, ironically, in Canada, this was one of my favorite things on the lunch menu, and it's actually the only time in my life that I've had this dish. Even though I've been to Greece, I never ordered Spanakopita, so I was really excited to make this dish. Let's jump into the recipe, and then I'll share with you kind of a few tweaks that I made to the recipe and ways that you can enjoy it with a large group. We tried to get through it just us two adults, and I really wish I'd made it kind of when we had other people over, or I was very tempted to just kind of go off and give it to the neighbors, but I thought that would be a little bit odd. But I'll show you how to make it. It was super easy, actually very delicious, nice and garlicky, and perfect for kind of summer eating outside or springtime as we are here. Okay, so I'm just starting off here by getting all of my ingredients and tools out as much as possible. I do like to do this at the beginning so that I kind of have everything I need ready, especially when I'm filming these recipes, just to make things as seamless as possible. I grabbed my spinach out of the freezer because I had bought it on offer earlier in the week and had frozen it straight away. I didn't wait for it to thaw for this recipe, although it recommended that I did. I also grabbed 4 green eggs because one of our chickens had been laying all of her eggs eggs in a secret area, and we found them all at once, so I needed to use those green eggs up. I've got some feta cheese as well, olive oil, garlic, onions, and I'm just going to start off by peeling the onions here and slicing it as thinly as I can. I did use the full onion, and it was a pretty big one, so you did need that for the recipe. Popped it into my bowl where I had already added the spinach, and it was kind of slowly defrosting. Good drizzle of olive oil. I used the whole pack of feta. For this, I didn't measure exactly how much feta I was going to need, but I just guessed, converting the amounts from the US ounces system into the number of grams. I figured that this was definitely going to be enough cheese, and I wouldn't use feta usually for any other recipe, so I thought I may as well use it all in here. You can see this is just the cheese and onion and spinach all mixed up with the olive oil. And next what I did is I got my big baking tray ready that I was going to use to make the spanakopita. So you need to oil whatever container you're going to use. I could have used a smaller one, but I used this big one because it's very convenient. And then sheet by sheet you lay your phyllo pastry in, and then you brush the top of that sheet again with olive oil. I hadn't used phyllo pastry before, and it was really interesting how thin each sheet was, but very sturdy. I would say it held up well to kind of being brushed quite rigorously here with the olive oil. And then just repeat that process until about 2/3 of the sheets have been used up, lining the bottom of your tray. As you can see here, there's quite a few lined up already, and then I'm just going to brush the top layer again with some olive oil. I think this is so that the sheets don't stick together, and they also kind of crisp up and puff up a little bit nicely as well. I then did my minced garlic into the mix for the middle of the spanakopita, sped up because this took me quite a while to peel each garlic clove individually. And then I just cracked my 4 eggs into a cup, gave them a good kind of whisk round, and poured that into the mix as well, and gave it a good stir. The eggs definitely made it lovely and kind of fluffy and creamy, that mixture. I really wasn't expecting actually that there would be eggs in this recipe, because I suppose when I remember eating it, I always just remember the spinach flavor and the garlic and the cheese and that kind of creaminess, but it makes sense that you add eggs here as well to give it that little bit of extra protein and for the filling to be a bit more substantial. So just keep stirring that until it's all nicely combined. At this point you have got your kind of bottom layers of phyllo pastry ready, and then you are going to pour your mix evenly across the bottom. I would say leave yourself like a little kind of margin around the edge of the phyllo pastry. Don't spread the filling right to the edge, because what you're going to do in a minute is you're going to make a little lid out of phyllo pastry and then turn over the corners, which kind of seals it in, I suppose, and makes it a little bit more of a pie style rather than just a tray bake. I would love to try this as well, just kind of making maybe individual spanakopita pies. I'm just grabbing some really big bits of onion out there that I forgot to chop up properly, because I feel like although this was lovely and it crisped up nicely, I think individual spanakopitas or just kind of smaller sizes would be fun from a serving point of view, rather than having to slice this big bake. But here I am, I'm just brushing the top again with olive oil and all of the sides. I probably could have done with adding a little bit more olive oil around the sides here, because they didn't crisp up as nicely as the top did, and I think it might have helped those sides stay folded over a little bit more, but overall I'm happy with how it looked. And then it went into the oven. It only needed about 40 to 50 minutes in my oven, because it runs a little bit hot, and that gave me time for our girls to play. I did some dishes. I like to tidy up after I've done some cooking. I don't know about you guys, but I have a small kitchen, and the countertops are usually covered with kind of various things ongoing, either dishes from earlier in the day or dishes that need putting away, and I do like to kind of tackle that after I've made each recipe in a go. It was a beautiful sunny day here, so I put my baby out in the sun in her pram while I got this out of the oven for us to try for our lunch. My toddler requested having a picnic outside, and I wasn't going to deny her, because I was very excited to try this, and I was very excited to sit outside in the sun with my babies as well. So I just popped it on the countertop. I sliced it as I would slice a lasagna, kind of big chunky slices. And I think next time I make this, I probably would serve it with something like some beetroot, or maybe even just a nice little tomato and mozzarella salad with some balsamic. Again, just something to offset the spinach flavor. Not that I dislike spinach, but there was quite a lot of it in this recipe, but I like how it turned out, and it was definitely a nice filling lunch, nice and flavorful for me because I love the garlic and the onion, and it was a nice surprise actually that my little baby, who's just over 1, actually really enjoyed it as well. She hasn't tried many vegetables yet in her life, and she really liked the spinach, so that was a lovely surprise. Okay, so hopefully you've seen that that was easy, again, doing it with my little helpers in tow, one of whom is here because she's just woken up from her nap. So we're just going to quickly explain what we did differently for this recipe. And one thing that I did with this recipe, which was different from the instructions, 2 things actually. Okay, the first one is that it called for only 2 garlic cloves, and we love garlic in our house, so right away I thought, you can't have too much garlic, I'm definitely adding 4. To be honest, I probably could have even added 6 because I like that punch, and I think you need something like that strong flavor to offset the amount of spinach you're putting in. Okay, this is the other thing. I didn't add any parsley. I don't really know what that would have added to the flavor. Maybe it would have made it a little bit lighter, but I didn't have any fresh parsley. I never grow parsley or buy it, so I didn't add that in. But otherwise, that was the only changes that we made. And then we went to eat it outside in the sunshine, didn't we? But I know that I've just told you a little bit about St. John Damascene, but I did, because it's these big girlie's birthday, very, very close to his feast day. Really, that's what's on my mind today. So I have made them a cake with this little girl's help, and Daddy is out to get some balloons, isn't he? This little tradition where I use the Country Living magazines to cut out a child's name and their age and just stick it in our front window. So right now it says the girl's name and then how old they're going to be. As you will have seen in other videos, I did the same for my little ones too. And I love to, any way I can, kind of weave in pink and flowers for their birthday. So I'll just kind of lift this up to show you. This is the cake that we made, and I've just decorated it with primroses from the garden, actually some viburnum. Let me just smell. Can you smell it? Smell. What does it smell like? Achoo! Achoo! It smells lovely. So it's just kind of whatever I have on hand to make it that little bit pretty. I don't go for perfection. It's really only the last couple of years I've managed to make a decent sponge cake. We don't focus on too many presents. We're trying to kind of keep that manageable because we now have 4 daughters that they all are coming to expect the same thing, and it's not all about the gifts. But I'm really happy that we're going to get to see the big girls today and celebrate, and maybe we'll watch a nice movie, which we often do. We'll probably go for a nice dog walk, and tomorrow they'll get to spend some quality time with their dad, which is really important. So that's just a little insight into our life, what we've been doing while we've also been preparing some lovely kind of spinach Spanakopita. I hope that you all really enjoy making this recipe. I would say it's great for a crowd, maybe as part of like a buffet spread. It could be really, really nice. Today I did actually eat the leftovers cold, and it was still tasty. It wasn't perfect. It's definitely nicer warm, and the pastry gets a little bit flat, but that wasn't the end of the world. I enjoyed the flavor, and actually so did my baby, so that was good. I just want to leave you with a little saying, which I included in the recipe booklet for this day, which says, "Those who have eaten bread and salt together are like brothers and sisters." I really like that, the importance of sharing a meal to bring people closer together. But thanks so much for tuning in again to this video. The annual bundle is still available for the whole year if you want to join me for a whole year of sacred recipes to follow the traditional 1955 liturgical calendar. Thank you so much for those of you who have already purchased the April booklet and the annual bundle, and I look forward to seeing you in the first week of April for our next recipe video, which will be a vegetarian lasagna, which I'm very excited for because I love lasagna. Anyway, in the meantime, take good care, everybody, and God bless.